Pete Hegseth said that women earlier in the administration said that women are going to be eliminated. Sorry, the standards that are lower for women in combat situations are going to be eliminated. Now, a new sex neutral physical test has been instituted or will be instituted starting in June and then being fully implemented in 2026 January. In order to pass the physical fitness test, women from 17 to 21 need to be able to lift 140 pounds in a deadlift instead of the formerly required 120, and will also need to run 2 miles in 22 minutes instead of the 23 minutes and 22 seconds. Chrissy, does this seem unreasonable? Like, the left is making this big thing of this is discriminatory, but again, we're talking about combat fighting roles. What are your thoughts?
I love that the left is like, girl power, girls can do everything. And then simultaneously, also, they can't run 2 miles in under 22 minutes. It's like really stupid, their logic there. But I just don't think that when you go to combat that your enemies are going to look and go, well, there's girls on the ground there. Maybe we should drop the girl bomb. Like, that's not how this works. Combat is combat. And unfortunately, you need to be ready for it. So I think a lot of people look at this unfortunately as like regressive or evil, that we would hold women to the same standard as men, while simultaneously the same side says, well, men can compete in women's sports. But honestly, this is a protective measure for women, right? This is just about upholding a standard and keeping everybody to the standard. It's so common sense that, this is why the left loses elections, because they can't figure out what common sense is and how to win people over with it.
Yeah, it really is fascinating how much there's women can do all the things, and then when it comes to combat, except for that thing, Siaka, I think I don't want to be too blunt about it, and I don't really want to make too much fun about it. We're talking about a fighting force whose sole job is to be as lethal as possible. I can't imagine why it would make sense for anybody, man, woman, gender, race, whatever, to have lowered standards. It didn't really make sense to begin with. Where did that idea come from?
The Marxists. That's
Mm.
where it comes from. If you want to destroy a powerful country from within, you implement silly things like lowering standards for our fighting forces. The military is not a social experiment. It should never have been. Because I tell you this, people, be Al Qaeda or ISIS, they're not going to care. They're not going to, as was mentioned earlier, not going to drop a certain type of bomb. They're going to just bomb everybody and then run over people. So you got to get rid of this stuff. And I love that they're getting back to some sanity there in our White House and how we run things. Yeah, let them cry about it, because after a while, most of the people crying about it will never actually even join the military to even get involved. So I kind of just plug my ears and keep moving forward.
Yeah, getting rid of everything that doesn't make common sense. Speaking of getting rid of things, RFK Jr., Health Human Services Secretary, came out yesterday and said, "Hey, we're gonna try and get rid of all of these, in his words, toxic food dyes." Chrissy, as somebody, I'm sure, well, all of us here are pretty conscious about, hey, making sure we're staying healthy on our own because you can't depend on government healthcare to do anything. Is this a good move, bad move? You think it has a chance of actually working its way all the way through to be actually implemented by the big food manufacturers?
Yeah, I would really hope so. I know that the HHS has already said that they're planning on cracking down on this earlier. They'd given food companies a deadline of 2027, 2028, and they're like, never mind, we can't wait on this. Because there's so many problems that have come from this. And, back to the first story we were talking about with families and whatnot, the infertility rates of women would be it's something that HHS should address with this growing crisis of women unable to have children. And I think a lot of it stems down to our health and our food culture here in America. And we would be really well off to implement that family agenda by going after it from a health lens. So I hope that it doesn't just stop with food dyes. I hope it goes into all aspects of making families great again and healthy again.
People at home might not be able to see this, and I don't want to make it weird, but Siaka is shredded in terms of just a very muscular, well put together man. Siaka, I only got about 30 seconds here, but from a health perspective, what are your thoughts?
I love this. I do think this is going to help. I mean, we have dumber people in our populace right now, and the biggest issue is our food. Well, second biggest issue to our education is our food. And I'll say the only thing I will miss is that cancer-causing yellow 5. Like, man, what am I going to do without that? But I think
Big
that
fan.
we have to get our obesity problem down. and these dyes are killing us right now. And it's like we got to get our country back into on the right track and bring back the presidential fitness test too. I'll just add that into the whole
Huh.
mix. Since we're
Interesting. Comes out a proponent of Yellow 5, just a big Yellow 5 fan.
yeah, that's all you got from that.
Yeah.